Alright everyone, welcome to bidhitter.com. Once again, I'm going to do a quick little video tutorial on LVS back in December 3rd. This is the type of play where it was crazy volatile the day before, and I will go over that trade right now with you. And these is what I call these are kind of like second day plays where they're still in play the next day after having a crazy volatile day. So as you can see from this chart, it opened around 50, went as low as 47ish, closed around 50. So that's the type of volatility I love. I thrive in that type of volatility. So I'm going to quickly go over with you the trades that I made, the day before, so you kind of get a feel of of my mind state, or however the stock was trading the day before for this opening move play. The point of this video is I'm going to go over the opening move play on LVS after it was crazy volatile day before, so you get a feel how to trade those opening trade plays. I have two videos on accumulation plays and how to spot the bids kind of accumulating and a buyer on the tape to identify a great risk reward ratio. Well, this is the type of video where it's the pure momentum play right off the open. I'm talking about first 15-20 minutes of the open, where there's just a huge buy program that goes off, and these moves usually foreshadow larger moves later on in the day. Quick spike right off the open can later be later flag out and then continue higher. So what we're focusing on is just the momentum trade right off the opening, off the opening range, and going from there. So on this video, I'm going to quickly go over the previous day. LVS was in play due to some news, I believe, or something day before, and it was the technical setup here where right off the open in this level was also the low of the previous day, which I do not have up. And well, this where I was actually trading it, and it was a previous low of the day before, and right when it broke that level, I hit the bids, for a quick little trade, and I saw his flag, so I held a little bit of the core for the larger percent of this move. And right when it based out here, I covered. I didn't necessarily want to get long because it was a bear flag overall on this 3-minute chart, but I did look for a setup to get short again. I covered, I hit the momentum here, I covered some into here, cover my risk, and I had a very, very small core for this larger portion of the move, and I actually got out above here when it broke this little high. I did eventually reshort the same level here. I didn't nail the top, but I reshorted once I saw that it failed the top, and then you see this little red bar here is failure. So I actually got short around this level to stop above, and I actually was looking for a break of the lows. So once this happened, news came out, which was totally unexpected. I got very, very, very lucky into this news because I was actually watching the stock, and I actually hit the bids for a fucking shit ton of size here, and I covered a quick portion of it at the midpoint of this bar to cover my risk at the closing of this bar. Like I said, this is a type of play here when I was short here, where I shorted the resistance level. It was the previous day's low, and it failed there. And this, I was actually watching stock hit the bids, and I actually got very lucky. I can't reiterate that very much enough. I mean, where luck played a huge factor in me actually being short here. But this is not the play I'm going over. I'm just going to do a quick little recap on it and talk about the next day. Anyways, I did short this. I covered most of my position, I believe, into the second red candle, and I didn't necessarily trade this. I wanted to see it move up to here for me to try to fade it, and then here couldn't really trade lower, so I actually got long on this little flag here when it kind of held above this, and I added above here, but I did sell most here and into this resistance level, so I didn't hold for the large move. I sold into this resistance, and for the rest of my position to this resistance here. Overall, you get the feel of how the stock was the previous day. It was down big, and then as you can see now, it's already trading about 600,000 shares in the pre-market at 9.27, and it's down 1.56%. So I definitely had these levels kept in my mind for the previous for the next day when I was trading it. So this play was specifically the opening momentum trade where I got long when I saw, I guess it was a bunch of short covering, a bunch of buying, whatever you want to call it, and let's just watch the save and see what we see. So the thing is with these opening plays, you can spot the hardcore momentum when it's just being traded on the offer, traded on the offer, traded on the offer, and then the bids are stepping up, and not much is being traded on the bid. So with these type of plays, it's for the most part pretty difficult to manage your risk properly, just because you don't necessarily have a spot where you can exit. Your exit really is you get long and then you hit out when if it stops going higher, like if it slows. So this is my 2 cents on how to do that properly. But like I said, these opening plays are the type of plays where they're just gonna, as you can see now, let me pause it. You can see now it just opened. You know, we're only 15 seconds into the open. So like I said in the other video, the liquidity is gonna be very tight. You know, it's not really somewhere where you want to get long, but you also, like I did a post before on the pre-market levels, you want to keep an eye on the pre-market levels and play off those off the open as long as using the level 2 and the prints. So this 4840, you know, I was watching 10 minutes before the market open, and there was a little bit of accumulation there in the pre-market. So right off the open, this wasn't the momentum play. This was just the kind of support pre-market play. You don't necessarily see on the chart. A little bit of buying. It's not a level where you want to get a bunch of size. It's kind of a level where you want to have a feeler. Just 100 shares. You know, if it drops, you get out. If the liquidity sucks, you'll get out for 5-10 cents. But for the most part, the LVS liquidity is pretty good just because of all the volume you traded. So as you can see, it holds this 40 a little bit. It hits 40s, 39s. 40 didn't really drop the bid, and it stepped up the bid. So right off the bat, that was pretty bullish. But it wasn't the key for you to get long, because the stock is still down 1.5%. Did have this down day and crazy volatile day. So you know, this is a type of play maybe you want to get long a little bit of your position, kind of just have a feel. You know, willing to risk 5-10 cents, just get a feel for the stock. But also, it is just 20 seconds into the open. So this isn't necessarily a trade I would have made. This is something I would have kept my eye on, was this 40-cent level, and see what else happened. You know, so it quickly, that 40-cent quickly got hit for size. It held, got hit for a little bit more, and then they start stepping up, which I found, you know, pretty interesting. So it's 41 is still there, it's 40 still there. So unless it drops below and holds, I wouldn't be looking to get short, because just because the stock's down 1.5%, I'll be looking for a short play, just because it's red on the day and so forth. But what we just saw was that 40-cent hold. I found was pretty interesting, because I wouldn't initiate a short play until that 40-cent dropped. You know, you could gone long at the 40-cent level if you want to get for a feeler and so forth, but it's not necessarily something I would have done with size or anything like that. Like I said, it's still the first minute of the open. So regardless, we're going over the momentum play. As you can see, that 40 held, and it quickly popped up 25 cents. This is a little pre-market level, and this is a little pre-market level, and so is 80 cents. So, you know, right off the bat, like I said, it's still the first minute of the trading day. But after a crazy volatile day, you kind of want to be a little bit more aggressive, especially if you did really well trading the stock. Aggressive, I'm not talking about size-wise. I'm talking about with your entries and exits. If you're willing to risk 20 cents here, you could have gone long on this breakout and hit out if 40 dropped. That necessarily was an A+ trade. You know, I just really want to show you the tape on the momentum, the opening drive momentum. So, like I said, it's very difficult to define your risk because it's only been a minute into the open, and you know, it's only been a minute open, and these opening moves kind of just run up very quickly. but these moves are the ones you gotta watch because they tend to flag and go higher. So just off the bat, this 75 cents I've been watching while I was talking to you is pretty interesting right there. So if I rewind a little bit, that 75 cents, you see 75 cents again, it did quite a bit of volume. So we're gonna go to 60, breaks out. You know, that necessarily wasn't the greatest play because you would have to risk 20 cents to get long. But let's keep an eye here on the 75, 74s, 75 here. So trades as high as I believe 80, which was also the pre-market level, and then it kind of pulls back a little bit to the 70 area. So, and then we watch the 75 bid kind of drop. So you know, this is pretty interesting. That 80 cent area is pretty interesting. These low 70s are interesting because they're doing kind of a bit of volume. They're holding. They're not really dropping below that. So what we did see is go to the 80 cent and have resistance as a pre-market level. Drop down to 75 cents, drop to low 60s, and get bid back up to the low 70s. And then what I want to see now is a hold here, as we see the 75 cents still holding so far. And then we want to see it hold this level and then break out above that 80 cents. So what we can do here is still initiate a position here if you get filled, you know, and then add above the 80 cents. And that could have been the opening momentum entry, with a risk maybe 10 cents if that 65 or whatever drops. So as you saw there, this is the opening move. You know, if you have an in-play stock and they have opening moves, this is how you can identify them. You know, you could have paid momentum at 80 cents, but you saw the 70s kind of buy a bit, and you saw these 40s buy a bit. So they're holding at the 40, then they held up around the 70, 75. So that alone is pretty interesting. Buyers stepping up. I haven't really noticed a seller anywhere, and even though the stock is red on the day, it's only down 8 cents. So this bad boy is about to go red to green, and red to green is a very favorable technique also. So if you go long at the 75 and 80, you know, excuse that WLT, 75.80, you know, you would have been in the money right now about very, very nicely. And this is what I call the opening move play. Excuse that SLB, like I said, I was trading a bunch of other things. You could have got entry here and entry here on this little flag. And mind you, it's only 3 minutes of the open still, and you're 30 cents in the money just right off the bat. On, you know, for decent minimal risk. You know, the 40 cent area, I don't really expect anyone to get long there just because it was down on the day. Maybe if you're in a very aggressive trader and that's the type of thing you like to do. I necessarily didn't take it. I waited till I had a decent entry, even though I did miss a 40 cent move. But my risk was always in check, and I always keep my risk in check. As we continue to watch, we see these little 10 cent area. Let me rewind a little bit because I was actually talking. So we saw it broke out of the hole, number 49, and then probably get some resistance soon, or it continues on the opening drive. So see these 9s kind of hold the bid, tend to hold the bid a little bit. Not necessarily hold the bid, I mean some buying there. So we're gonna watch that. See this 10 cent area. So as long our entry right now is 75s and 80s. Obviously you weren't going to get 80s if you broke out of the 80s because there's slippage and so forth. My average when I was trading this thing was 83 on a couple hundred or a couple how many shares? I have like 1,000, 2,000 shares on it. Just off the open, my risk was very minimal. And as you see, these 10 cents are kind of holding a little bit. Not holding, but kind of doing some volume. And it's not really pulling back so hard. It's having very tight flag here, and not necessarily pulling back too hard, and kind of holding above the whole number. So this still has some momentum in it. Mind you, it's only 4 minutes into the open. It hasn't had a deep pullback yet. You know, so far it's pulling back about 15 cents, and it is holding above the whole number. So what we're watching right now, see if it continues to hold above the whole number. And if it does, you could even add some more size there. And you know, about taking sales is going to be, I'll go over that in a little bit, but taking sales is something you gotta do. You know, when you're in the money a good amount, just right off the open, You know, shit tends to reverse pretty quickly off the open. So you gotta take your sales, you gotta always keep your risk in check. Fuck the reward. The reward's cool. Always have a general idea of the reward, but know your risk and always know your risk. Don't even dare think about reward over risk. It's always risk over reward. You always gotta keep your risk in check. So those opening drive plays, say, first of all, it's not really a good idea to have a bunch of size just right off the open like that, because shit can drop. Like, they could just drop the bids 50 cents, no problem, since it's still the first 5 minutes. Liquidity is kind of tight. But the thing with this LVS is traded 1.6 million shares, 600,000 that in the pre-market. So that's some really good volume just for the first fucking 4 minutes of the trading day. But like I said, you gotta take your sales in these opening drives, and it's not that you gotta sell your whole position. You do keep a core on these things, and you kind of take some sales, so it lowers your risk, and you gotta lock shit in, because this can easily reverse as fast as it got there. So let's see if it holds this 49. Okay, no, it didn't hold this 49. So we're still keeping in mind that 75-cent area and this is pay. This isn't LVS. The 75-cent area and the 80-cent area from earlier. So, excuse me, I was looking through a bunch of stocks. Let me kind of fast forward here. Alright, here we go. LVS. So, I'm a freaking jabroni going through all these stocks. It's a good thing to go through your tape because you notice these type of things. So, while watching this LVS, you notice it had that opening move here. And we're still going to keep in mind this 80 cent and 75 cents. Did a little bit of volume, not crazy amount, but that's where my entry was at least. And this 80-cent level was some support or resistance at the pre-market. So right now what we're seeing is it's still the first 5 minutes of the trading day on this LVS, and it's forming a bullish wedge, bull flag, whatever you want to call it. So as long as it holds above this 80-cent level, it's still bullish in my mind, and I want to still be long in it. And I actually want to have some size into this pullback, so when it does rip, if it does rip, I want to be in it and have a good amount of size. So let's see, SLW, of course I was not trading let's see if I have this freaking LVS. So LVS, as you can see, I fast forward it, had that opening move, and it pulled back to this 80-cent mark, which is pre-market support. Had a little resistance right off the opening drive. Mind you, the opening drive was about 80 cents. It's a pretty significant opening drive. This does foreshadow possible higher move to this 49.50 or 50 level. So, like I said, as long as it holds above this 80-cent level, we're golden to go higher. So we're keeping in mind to see if it does that. So let's watch this tape here. There's 85s, 82s. See those 83s right there, 81s, 80s are pretty decent to me, and they're kind of excuse that again. And they're they're holding a bit. They're holding the level so far from what I'm looking at. And this is, remember, once resistance breaks, it turns into support. So that could have been an entry when, depending on how to go all brain fart on you. Excuse this SLW. When once it's 80 and you saw some size get hit at that 80 and hold there for a bit. So trades up to 90 to see. I want to see it test again. 85s buying a little bit. 86s, 85s. Those 85s are pretty decent level. That could have been a good entry if you could have gotten filled at 85, or you could have paid for 86. It stops still below 80, and like I said, you gotta take sales until it thinks. So on the pullback is where you start to build a position. So 81's also buying a little bit. It's 80 still sticking the bid. Like I said, 85 you're trying to be really aggressive, and you want to make sure you're in. If you have patience, you could get in the low 80s and be in a real position as trade. So let's see it trade a little higher. Trades to near the high again, and boom, trades to the high and breaks out. went as high as 49.40 on that second thrust. So like I was saying, right off the open, that's a hardcore momentum trade where it foreshadows a larger move later. You know, it had a large move, it pulled back with a tight flag, it tested this previous resistance, which is now support, an 80, and held there and actually bought a little bit, as you saw on the tape, and then broke out to new highs. That is really, really bullish to me, and I want to still be long in that. I was long in that. I had a bunch of size there. And also, the reason I picked the stock is because the previous day was a lot crazy volatile, and it was still in play. So I really just wanted to go over how the tape looked like on the opening drive on that pullback. And you know, the sales aren't necessarily my issue. It's not something I need to work on. For the most part, I do scale out some of my size relatively early, but I do hold at least small position for a larger portion of the move. So as long as if you have a really good entry in a position of strength, and that means you can hold as long as you want. So not as long as you want, but you're in a position of strength where you can hold for the larger move and not necessarily get jigged out. So let's see. That's kind of just a little video I wanted to go over on that. You see a bull flagged up here, held above this 40 cent area and 50 cent mark, which is also this level here. That's not necessarily something I'm going to go over now. I kind of just want to do a quick little video on the opening move, the pullback, and then the second thrust. Because you always got to keep shit on watch for a secondary breakout. I know people just try to get the original breakout and they miss the secondary breakout, which is way more important than the first breakout, because you got your risk is defined, and usually it has even a more powerful move, just because so many people are watching it and so forth. So let me just fast forward, see if I could get the ending chart of where this LVS ended. Here we go. So as you can see, right here, boom, little quick opening drive, because it was still in play from the day before. This 80 cent was a pre-market level, which is important. I kind of accumulated some there, broke out, pulled back, held that 80 level. It couldn't be clearer than that, and then fucking ran out and went about 1.5 points higher to that. So you know, the play would have been buying into this bull flag, and especially your key level is this 80 level. You're coming out 85s, 80s, and so forth. Hit out below 80, 75, 79. 70, depending what your risk was. You know, you always got to keep your risk in check. Could have bought some here and get pretty aggressive, have a really good size here, and then buy the rest on the actual breakout. So you'll have a position of an average around here, and you could have held it out for the rest of the move. You know, you would have probably sold some here in this little consolidation bull flag, just very little. You know, you want to still keep most of your size. It's still a very powerful drive, as you can tell from this, and it was down the previous day and so forth. So you want to take some here just to lower your risk, or try to eliminate your risk, and then kind of hold the move. Said you do see a bull flag, and you do see oh, excuse me, this is my video from today, I believe. So you do see, like I was saying, okay, so like I was saying, you know, you still want to hold most of your position to these moves, so they're bull flagging, but you know, I definitely would have gone out into this 50 resistance area, this level here, this level here, this level here. I probably would have seen this 50, see if it would have held, and then sold. If it broke out, I probably would have taken some off here if it didn't hold above here. So this, I think, was actually me on this little drop here, because I kind of panicked out of it, but did kind of go above. I didn't rebuy. I wanted to see what it did, and I actually pulled back and kind of retested this level. I didn't get long here. You know, if you had a bid here, you would have gotten filled. This area would have been a decent area to get long again, see if it actually had another move. I when I traded, I didn't get as aggressive into this move as this one, because this was right off the open. It already foreshadowed it was going to go higher off this opening drive, bull flag, bull wedge, whatever. This one, I believe I did have a little bit of size, but nothing more than a couple hundred shares for the higher move. And I don't have a chart for the rest of that day, but let me see if I pull up. Give me 1 second while I pull up the chart here. So 200 day. Take that out. LVS. This was the December 3rd. So December. Yeah, December 3rd it went as high as 50.16 from the low of the open. So 50.16. So the video. That was pretty much the high of the day. It kind of just chilled around the high. So overall, that was an opening drive play. It was good. Actually, I'm going to quickly go back to this pullback here so I can reiterate and kind of re-show you guys the decent entries and so forth. I believe I did get long when I saw some of that buying at 85, and I had a little bit of a wider stop because I did have some on the initial entry, and I did make some chop in it. So let me quickly look. Here we go. Let's get this up. Yes. Here we go. Deck, no. No, not deck. Not rim. Come on, but it's puts on LVS. Here we go. Okay. So remember, this is where I pulled back to. So we're gonna watch this and see if we get any key or any clue on where there's some buying or a decent entry. So it's pulling back, slowly trading a bit, but it's not sharp. It's not violent and so forth. It's kind of trading a little bit lower, and it has those sprays. I'm not sure if you see that, how it pulls back a little bit, slow on the bit, and it kind of pops, and they kind of spray the offers for a little bit, and then slowly pulls down a little bit. So that's pretty bullish to me. That it has a lot of that upside momentum where people they just want to pay for it, pay the offer for it. So see it pull back down here, and this wasn't the entry for the pullback. This was the entry here for some, and then you could have sold some here, did whatever your style does for you. I automatically took some off. I think I built right at the hole, right before I even broke that. I had some here, but I actually sold some here at this pre-market resistance. Had a little bit into here, and I held it all the way down here. And then I bought those 85s that I discussed earlier, and I wanted to see the 80 hold. I think my out was below that when those 75s or 67s and so forth. I probably would have gone out there if we held below that. But 85s gave some ample opportunity. 84s, 80. If you're good and quick, 80 and 81 would have been the spot. And that's the opening drive with the pullback play that I also have in my arsenal of tools on top of those accumulation trades. So that's definitely something you should add to your playbook. Also, remember, check out the 14-day free trial for the bidhitter.com virtual prop desk. A bunch of great guys, professional traders in there. There's at least 40 to 60 guys looking at the market all at once, and most of them are pros. You can learn tape reading, you can learn how to recharge, how to do specific plays. You can ask any one of us about those because we're here to help. And excuse me. And like I said, we're here to help. Breaking news alerts and so forth. Also, check out the KR video. If you're a member of bidhitter.com, it's only a few bucks. If you're not a member, it's $10. I spend that literally. I wake up and I somehow spend $10. It's dirt cheap. You gotta invest in yourself and so forth. Also, check out the GMCR accumulation video. Anyways, have a good day. I hope this video